Hi. So I was running errands for my husband, and this thought kind of crossed my mind. If you don't know who I am, I'm geeky, and I guess I'm just blogging. So a thought crossed my mind while I was running errands, and it reminded me of just something, uh, just something that we should do, right? We should be thinking about our health and making that a priority, and that can be kind of hard to do when you work an everyday job and your job scares you about you taking that time off for those appointments, even though technically you really should be making those appointments, right? And and I'll tell you why I'm bringing it up because I was reminded of the time that I discovered I had a fibroid, and it was one really big fibroid. Sorry, and I had only discovered it because when the pandemic hit, it was the one time that my company finally gave more flexibility for doctor's appointments because at that point in time, everything was unprecedented. We didn't know what these COVID infections were going to do. We didn't have vaccinations, etc., right? So, and just to give more context, right? You know, um, when I first started with the company, I had avoided making doctor's appointments a majority of the time for myself because I was given the impression that I shouldn't be making so many appointments, that I shouldn't be taking that time off from work for my health, or I could get fired because that was my fear. Not that they would actually fire me, I guess. I think the concern was that they just didn't want you to do it all at once or too many times too soon. I don't know. But it made you feel like you couldn't focus on your health, and it made you feel like you could lose your job for it. And so I only reserved the appointments for my kids because I got the least flack for that. And once the pandemic came along and they allowed for more flexibility for doctor's appointments, that's when I finally took more time to make those appointments and check myself to do those preventative appointments I've been avoiding. And when I finally went to my gynecologist, they had discovered at the time that when I first went, that I had a 1 pound fibroid growing in my system. I was scheduled for a surgery, and of course, I was warned that if I got sick before the date of the surgery, they would have to push the surgery back. Um, and then, and of course, I did end up getting sick because even though I warned my husband I can't get sick, you know, and he brought it up at his work. His company did not believe in masks. They did not believe in having their workers like follow any health protocols or you know, um, preventative health protocols. And so, of course, no one cared. They're all snotting all over the place. They're coughing all over the garbage cans and anything else, any surfaces or whatever. Nobody cleaned them, whatever. So he got sick. He was mad about it. He was mad at his company about it. He was mad at his people, his coworkers, because he even told his coworkers he was trying not to get sick because of me. But he got sick. And even though me and the boys tried not to get sick and we wore gloves, trying to take care of him because he did have COVID and it was bad. Um, it was really bad. I still ended up getting sick, and I got sick really bad too. It was terrible. My first COVID sickness, my first COVID infection was absolutely terrible. Like asthma wise, it was just terrible. Anyway, point being, I got sick. Surgery got pushed back 4 months. And in the time that was happening, I felt something was wrong because my feet started swelling up more, my legs were swelling up, and my my gut area looked like it was getting more swollen. And so when I asked for another appointment. I went back in, and at that point they found out that my fibroid had grown to a 2-pound fibroid. I'm like, in the short time that my surgery had been delayed, I was at 2 pounds. And that was within, I think, 2 months. Um, yeah, it was about 2 months. And I said, should we do this sooner? And they're like, no, they're unable to do it because of the way surgeries are scheduled. And I think you had to wait a certain period before you can go into surgery because of COVID, and it's unprecedented in this. So it's like, well, fuck. Okay, so we waited, and by the time that they finally had my surgery, you know, thankfully it went well. But what had happened was, um, my surgery was supposed to be only 2 hours long, and it ended up becoming 5 hours long. And the reason why it was 5 hours long is because when they finally opened me up, they found out that my fibroid was not 2 pounds, but 3 pounds. It was bigger, and it took up my whole pelvic cavity. Um, it was so bad that my surgeon had to pull in 2 more surgeons to help me complete, to help me and to help them complete the surgery. Um, and I was the first surgery of the day, so my surgery pushed everybody else's surgeries back. Um, my surgery ended up lasting 5 hours, and you're not supposed to be under anesthesia for more than 5 hours, as a matter of fact. And I don't know about anesthesia. Maybe it was a type of anesthesia that was on, but I wasn't supposed to be under for that long. It was dangerous, and thankfully, I survived that surgery. Like, there's probably a big risk to the whole thing. And when I finally came to, the doctor was so relieved to see me come to, and I was perfectly fine. He was asking me how I had gone to the bathroom because of how big it was and how it took up my entire pelvic cavity. I'm like, I don't really know. I mean, maybe it was, maybe all I did was, maybe I just listened to my body. I moved around when I needed to. But he said that my uterus, was it my uterus? The fibroid, I think it was the fibroid. It was turned, it was twisted like 90 degrees, you know? I can't, was it my uterus or something was twisted, either my uterus or my fibroid. I'm guessing it's my fibroid. It was twisted 90 degrees. Um, one of my they were supposed to save both of my ovaries. They can only save one because one of them was like so squished against my fibroid. They had to remove it with the fibroid, which is pretty crazy. So, um, sure, there's a lot of other details I could get into the whole story, but point being, you know, don't be afraid. Like, make those doctor's appointments. I know that with a lot of our jobs, we worry about losing them. We worry about losing pay. But health-wise, you end up paying more health-wise if you end up having surgery for something that you just didn't catch sooner, if you had just gone to the doctor sooner, you know? And, and just keep this in mind. Like, I even watched, like, an HR video that showed up after, like, probably during COVID, that talked about how mothers were afraid of making doctor's appointments because they were afraid of losing their job. Like, can I tell you how hard that hit me? Like, it made me so emotional when I watched that, because I was so relieved that they finally recognized that. You know, I just wished that they had recognized that sooner. I suppose better later than never. However, I don't want it to be later than never for you. So if you've been wondering, um, if your health has been in question, let this be a sign. Take care of yourself. Put yourself first. Sometimes, you know what? Your health, your well-being, and your person, you, are more important. Have a good day.